I, like many of you, send and receive packages all the time. And every now and then, I have the horribly tragic misfortune of being left with no other option but to use the US Postal Service to track my packages. And the interface is really bad. It's really difficult to understand what it is I'm supposed to be looking at. And particularly, as you can see from my notes here, there's quite a lot that I think is wrong with this interface. There's a lot of, I guess, faux pas when it comes to the design realm. Of course, we've got the standard offenses with the navigation pulling a lot of attention but not providing a lot of value. But also the header of this section just takes up way too much space. The first couple inches on the screen is on desktop and especially on mobile are where you really want to place some value for the user. You don't want to have to force them to scroll. You've got incorrect input controls for this function. If you want to track another package, why do I have to click a button? Can I not just type in another tracking number? I'm not really sure what this secondary navigation is supposed to do. There's a good use of color to draw my attention to parts of the screen that are most relevant to me. When a package is delivered, I'd want to know that. Lots of unnecessary drop-down controls and just heavily saturated accent colors, which are really distracting. So ultimately, just a lot of issues kind of compounding to make the experience just an amalgamation of horror. And this is pretty standard for government websites. So we're going to take this and we're going to try to create a US Postal Service package tracker that's actually easy to use. Something that's a delight to load every time I have the misfortune of using the US Postal Service. So as usual, here we go. We've got the style guide, standard palette of blacks and grays. They have a dark blue accent. It's kind of more of a purple, and then a red accent that they use for, I guess, calling your attention in a negative state. And for the body and header fonts, they're using Helvetica New. And it's not the most flexible font. It's a decent font, but we can't really do very much with it. But I really want to not change the fonts because sometimes I feel like that's cheating, right? If you use a really good performant modern font, designs just look better generally. So we're going to stick with Helvetica New, and we're going to see if we can make that work. And then as always, we have the user stories over here in Figma. And one thing you'll notice is that the list of user stories here is quite small relative to the amount of content that you saw on that page. And that's because from the perspective of the user, right, as someone that wants to track a package, there's not very much I want to do on a package tracking screen. I will want to see the status of my package delivery. I want to know where it is, how many steps are between me and the receipt of the package, and approximately how long is it going to take me to receive that package. I'm going to quickly add another package to track that as well if I have a series of tracking numbers on hand. And I want to subscribe to updates about that package. I don't want to have to come back to this obnoxious UX every time I want to see where my package is. And then, of course, in the unlikely and unfortunate situation that my package is lost or missing, I want to take action on that. So this is really all you would need out of a package tracking app. All this other stuff is superfluous, probably included because some project manager at the US Postal Service wanted to, advocate for their particular part of the application to be showcased. And that's just the reality of working in huge conglomerates. But for the sake of the design, we're going to use the simple list of user stories and we're going to design something absolutely sexy. We'll see what we come up with. I'll see you in about an hour. I'm intentionally trying to not spend too much time on the header navigation here because it's not really that important in the broad scheme of things. We're trying to make the usability of the tracker itself better, but the navigation's kind of secondary to that, so it doesn't get as much treatment here. Probably the most egregious design flaw on the existing USPS tracker was that the tracking number itself was simply a string of text and it wasn't an editable field. but making it editable still implies that you're looking at one particular tracking number when it's filled out, but then gives the option to the user to add another tracking number if they want to track another package. So that was a really simple and easy fix to improve the UX of the flow. When you're trying to craft a very specific visual hierarchy with strictly text elements, there's 3 attributes that you can change: text size, text transparency, and text color, and they will pull attention in that order. The bigger text usually gets seen first, the less transparent text gets seen after that, and then any brightly colored text that's equivalent in size and transparency will be seen after that. So here you can see the most important text is bigger, and the least important text is transparent, with the other piece of text being the same size but more opaque. A little tip I learned a while ago to make these toggle switches much more user-friendly is to change 2 attributes on the toggle to indicate that it's on. I'm changing the color of the button and the orientation. So then users will know that the more saturated color is certainly the on position. If you look at practically any modern SaaS product experience, you'll notice that the sections of content are usually self-contained. It's very rare that you'll find all of the content on one single background in a modern product experience, so replicating that in your own designs is a good way to make it look more professional. And I think we've done it. We've done it, guys. We've taken the USPS Package Tracker, quite possibly one of the most unintuitive, difficult to use interfaces on the planet, and we've made it sexy. It's easy to use, and this is what I really love, how you can take a very complicated interface and then just move the principles of just good design heuristics and information architecture onto that interface, and it just is significantly easier to consume. Everything about this is kind of designed intentionally. There's nothing unnecessary on the screen, but as a user, if I type in a package number right now, I've got the status, I've got the transit history, I've got the ability to opt into updates. Everything just floats to the top, and there's nothing irrelevant kind of pulling for my attention. There are controls to kind of report a missing package or print a new label, but ultimately the main use case of the experience is really easy to use. But maybe I'm partial. This is my baby, of course. It could be the case that I'm just a little too invested in it. If you think this is total crap, or if you'd rather, design it in a different way, please let me know in the comments. And if you can think of another interface that you want me to add some magic to and just totally refactor, pop it in the comments as well, and I'll see about taking a look in the next episode of Demystifying Design, which will be out next Tuesday. But until then, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all the love, guys. Have a great week. Bye.